Howdy, folks. Chuck Sheely here with Inside Cool Music Magazine. Compelling stories from authentic musicians. And today we are here with a very authentic musician, Lisa Reagan. She sings for the Washington National Opera. 20 years, I think.
Yes.
She's been a pop artist, a jazz artist. She's now a chant artist with the group Shunia with Suzanne Jackson. She'll tell you more about that. But today she's here with us for our inaugural issue. This is our premiere issue. We're happy and very delighted that you're here with us. And Lisa, we're very happy that you're here with us. It means so much to me. Thank you. Welcome. How are you?
I'm very good, and I'm so happy to be here with you. This is exciting.
It is exciting, right? You're starting something new with cool people, and here we go. Yeah. So, okay, well, so Shunia just released an album this year, and you're getting ready to take that for a spin. How's that going? How's that launch so far?
It's going well. I think considering we really, we couldn't tour because we were actually going to release it in 2020 and decided to wait till 21, because of all the reasons. And so I'm happy that things are starting to open back up, and hopefully we'll get some gigs soon in some places where we can go and perform live with these great musicians, and hopefully a few of them that are on our album. They're just brilliant. That would be really fun. But in the meantime, we are promoting it the way pretty much everybody else does, which is on the internet.
That's the way of the day, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So that's where you are now, but your career begins, if I recall correctly, back in the church days. Yes? Piano and singing, etc.
Yes, definitely the church days. I started playing piano. Well, I started playing when I was 3. Then I started taking lessons when I was 5. And then I got into the music preparatory department, which was very good at Oklahoma City University when I was 7. And I started, taking lessons from actually the dean of the university. He was an incredible piano teacher. I was very fortunate. So I had good solid training as a kid. And then I, of course, sang in the church, like everybody else does, all the different choirs. I was thinking I was in 4 or 5 different choirs because, good Southern Baptists here in Oklahoma. We have lots of choirs and they're all good. So that was fun. And I did that growing up, and then ended up majoring in music, voice and piano, and just kind of done that all my life, basically. I started, I think I'm trying to think, it was like 1998 when I produced my first solo album of original music, but I had been writing my whole life. I called it doodling.
Well, how does that begin? Okay. I couldn't wait for this interview because that's how I got into music. I was a writer, then found out I was a musician. I wrote my first song when I was 5 for a girl named Cindy in school. But anyway, so what's your story like that? How did you start? When did you know? When did you start when did it start to go?
Well, I can tell you, I had a classical training in piano, right? So I didn't really read chord charts. It was kind of very strict. I was reading like Bach and not Beethoven when I was a kid, but Mozart for sure. And so then I guess I was about 14. I got into a rock band at my church, and they knew I could play the piano, and they gave me chord charts. And I'd never seen chord charts. I was like, oh, what is this? But I had a really good, I had a good theory background because my piano teacher was kind of a theory Nazi. So I knew the circle of fifths, I knew all the stuff. So when I was looking at it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I love this. And it, it didn't take a long time to learn it. And I loved the freedom it gave me. So then I started listening to jazz pianists because I thought, oh my gosh, this is so cool. They just take these combinations, very mathematical, right? And they create whole worlds with the same chords. It's so cool. I'm not a jazz pianist, but I always have been a huge admirer of great jazz music. And so that sort of got me branched out into creating. I thought, well, this is really fun. And then that's kind of when I really started doodling, and I would just do it for my own entertainment, just to see what I could come up with, how I could use, create a song in B flat minor and then create the same idea in a major key and see how I felt, And that was it. So probably about 14 when I started doing that. And I did it for fun. I didn't really do any concerts. I didn't record it. I just did it. You know what I mean?
Do you have recordings of those songs?
Well, I mean, I took some of those songs when I very first did my first recording, when I kind of put it all together and made it into an actual CD. I was golly, I don't know when that was, but I mean, I was older, because I spent a lot I got into the Washington Opera and I was really in the classical world, and I spent a lot of my energy and time in that. I taught classical singing, so I had students. So I recorded music. I mean, as a singer, but it was, I think I did some jazz songs. And when I was 16, we recorded on reel to reel back then. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, right. And I know how to splice with a razor and tape. Yeah, I did that all, man.
They have apps for that
Yeah,
today.
I grew up in that authentic studio setting. So I do have those songs that I recorded when I was really young, and a good friend of mine actually restored those. He took them off the original reel to reel and restored them and gave them to me in a CD a few years
Wow.
ago. It was so sweet.
That
So
is.
so I have those. I have hymns that I recorded. I recorded a bunch of hymns when I was young. But as far as really putting down my original music, I mean, that didn't happen until I think 95, as far as getting it in, into recording where other people could hear it. The other time it was just, I'd make up songs, you know, honestly, I just did it for my own entertainment, or I do it like a bunch of people. I did this with my students. They'd say, and I guess it was kind of music therapy. I didn't even think about it that way, but how are you feeling today? And let's talk about that. And what does that sound like? And I'd create music that sounded like, let's say they're feeling sad or whatever. And I said, I just want you to kind of sing improvisationally, to what I'm playing. And let's kind of focus on that feeling that's in your body, that's in your heart right now. And to get them in touch with singing, in other words, connect the singing and the heart together. So it's not just, I'm a technical singer over here, because that's, I mean, you might be a good technician, but who cares? I mean, it's
Right.
good, but if it's not connected to the heart, it only can go so far, right? So I use that as actually as a teaching tool for many years, and that just on an ah vowel or whatever, or they could make up words. I just thought it was important to kind of get them out, especially the stiffer ones, the ones that were more like really rigid and had only studied classically, and they didn't have any, they were just kind of stuck and frozen. So that I found that very helpful. And I had piano students when I was young, and I would do that with piano students. I'd say, well, let's just make up a song, for fun. When I was trying to teach them how to understand the chords and how to play in different keys. And anyway, I think I was entertaining myself too, honestly.
Hey, at all times, I think no
know?
matter what kind of music you're playing, sad song, happy song, the point is to
Right.
have a good time and a fulfilling fun.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, and it's in at least a cathartic time, right? Something that
Absolutely.
when you get up from the piano, you feel like you feel better. You feel like you've consoled yourself, or the music has consoled you somehow. I think that's a very important, and that's been a very important part of music for me in my life, in my own personal like healing and heart.
Man, that's something I can 100% resonate with. Sometimes I'm actually writing some music now that no one will ever hear. I'm just kind of going there, if you will. And I have lots of music like that. That's just, like you said, cathartic and sort of a
Mhm.
therapy. Its purpose is therapy, which is different from when we try to write something that's more publicly accessible, such as a hit or whatever,
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's good to do that as writers because it helps. It's part of the path of getting to the what we call the hits, or the
Mhm.
attempt of them anyway,
Right. Right.
or the more accessible music. Um,
Sure. For
yeah,
sure.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, and thank you for sharing that. So, like, is there a particular time of the day, for instance, you like to write, or a different way you start? You start with piano, perhaps, or
You know what,
shower?
I have to say, I always start with piano,
Hmm.
honestly. Um, yeah, I mean, I usually in the afternoons, I like to sit at the piano and just I've been actually during COVID, I thought, okay, I'm going to get out all my classical piano books, like my Beethoven, and I'm going to see if I can play them still, because I haven't played them in a long time. That was a little bit rough. So I got out my Hanon, the Hanon exercises for piano, and I started playing those just to get coordination back, because I really hadn't played classically in quite a long time. So that kind of got me back into the habit of just sitting at the piano every day and playing and trying to just, as they say, get your chops back. But so that was good. And so I like to start with piano and see kind of where it takes me. When I'm writing songs, a lot of times it's helpful to just get a rhythm going. I mean, like a song I'm going to sing with lyrics. I'm doing a cool project right now, which is I'm writing out, well, they're all written, the songs to poems, my favorite poems. So there's there's Keats and Yeats, two Yeats poems. There's two Wendell Berry poems. I love Wendell Berry. He's from Kentucky. He's still alive. Beautiful poet. And some Frost poems, two Frost poems. So when you're working with those, I found it really helpful to just understand how the natural rhythm of the poem, what it really feels like when you just say it, right? And then to try to find a rhythmic sort of groove that was supportive of that, and then create the music around it. And that was different for me. Usually you have a lyric that you can, if it doesn't work, you can shift it, or you can kind of change, you know what I mean? You can shift it, right? And say, oh, let's use this word instead, or take that out, or just, let's say it this way. It's the same meaning, but it sings better. Or that's a better word to sing. It's got a nice round vowel on the top. But when you're singing poems that are locked in, you have to create your world to them. True. And that was an interesting, harder than I expected. Plus I wanted to really give honor to the meaning of the poem. I thought that was really important, to try to make it sound like what that poem makes me feel like when I read it. So that was a fun thing. I've been working on it a couple of years now, so it's almost done. It's off to the arranger, my dear friend and brilliant. We did Shunia with him, Jamshid Sharifi. He is doing the arrangements for this poetry album, so it's pretty exciting.
Wow. I can't wait to hear that. I cannot wait to hear that.
I can't wait either, because it's just been such a long process, and trying to work through COVID and all the, changes in people's schedules, and wow. But yeah, it's almost there.
Almost there. Yeah, the gates are open. I started playing shows. Have you started to play shows yet?
Not yet. Well, I did. I take that back. I did do a concert with the symphony a few weeks ago, which was partially, we did it at the Civic Center, which is our big hall here in Oklahoma City. And I think they allowed like 40% audience, but it was filled up as much as they would allow people to come in.
Right.
This was in May, so things are even a little better now. So we couldn't have other people on the stage. It was sort of a modified version of this piece, but I did that. So yeah, a few live things just starting. Thank goodness.
Yippee! I know.
I know, right?
I know. We're all. I feel like a linebacker on the sidelines, in the offense is still on the field, and I just can't wait to get back out there and just cream it. You know what I mean? Wow. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about how you prepare, as so you are a person who lives and breathes music, because you wake up and it's what you want to do, and it's how you've pursued it in all these ways to become where you are, to get where you are now. So let's talk about a little bit about the preparation that goes into being a living, breathing, authentic musician.
Well, much of my life I was paid to be a singer, right? So that was my career, to teach singing and to and to sing, with the opera and other organizations and performances. So I really had to work on my voice to get it honed in. And I have a really big voice. I mean, it's just loud. I mean, it's just it's called a big instrument in opera terms. And that's a voice, you can't let it go south. You have to keep it up. So I have to vocalize every day. And if I don't, it's just like raising the dead when I get ready. Like I was getting ready for this concert that I sang a few weeks ago. I really started preparing quite a long time ago. Every single day I had to vocalize, and I could tell I was getting stronger. Things were holding. I was getting better. I didn't feel as frightened, to sing, because when you don't sing and then you get ready to sing, it's like, whoo, it can be, especially classical singing, it can be really scary. So I think that's an imperative, if you're going to sing, you've got to keep vocalizing and singing.
Right.
At least with my kind of voice, I have to. So, and then as far as writing music, I mean, for me, I like to go where I'm inspired, and I really have been thinking about writing music to these poems. Well, I love poetry. So, and I was pretty inspired by Sting. I got this Sting's book. It's like a whole book of his lyrics. And he talks in there about how he was so influenced by William Blake. And you can tell, I mean, Sting is a poet, so you can really see it in his writing. And so then I think that's really what happened.
He makes a ton of literary references all the time.
Absolutely. He is such a literary guy. And I love him. I loved him since The Police. So it's just always
cool.
And I don't know. I just felt like he's so creative and so talented, and he's been able to just keep, I mean, he wrote a musical, he's just been able to keep going and keep creating. So I think I was reading his book of lyrics, and he talked about Blake, and then I thought, oh, this is cool. I'm going to read a book. So I bought a book of Blake's poetry and I read it, and I just, as I read these poems, and they kind of take you into a place that for me, that I don't go otherwise. I mean, they just, especially if it's a poem that really speaks to me and I really get and understand at a deep level, then it's pretty profound. And I thought, wow, that'd be a cool project. So, that's of course what I'm doing now. Another album I did called Arcana. It's a really cool album. It's one of my favorite albums, actually, that I've ever done, but it's about archetypes. So there's Joan of Arc is in there, and there's the Huntress, and there's the Queen, kind of all your major arcana. That's why it's called Arcana, archetypes. And I thought that was actually a hard project too, but I thought it'd be really fun, or interesting at least, to write stories. So these songs are kind of like stories that these different characters either talk or live, or so anyway. So I think I'm just inspired by different things, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That intrigue my mind. So
good. Yeah, for me, it's Pablo Neruda when it comes to other writers.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
To me, that was like a can opener for my head when I read that.
Well, and actually, I think that's my son's favorite. That's how I found out about Pablo, was through him. But yeah, that's very inspirational.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that for us.
Yeah.
So what's next for Shunia? You guys are making some videos next, I guess?
Well,
they're coming up in October, I think.
Well, we've got some videos that we have created, and a lot of them are online. I think that we just did a whole video kind of, I'd say is a social media campaign, just telling about our music and why we do it and why we're inspired to even do a chant album in the first place, why it's meaningful to us. But I feel like what we really want to do is perform. That would be awesome. So as soon as I would say, hopefully the festivals will begin again, like, the Shakti Fest and different places like this, where I think our music would be really well received. And even I think we could sing our music anywhere, honestly. We could even do it in a performance hall, because it's just
Yeah,
beautiful music. It doesn't have to necessarily be just, where people are chanting, but it also lends itself to, we talked about doing workshops and doing it, in a way, just teaching chanting, because we're both voice teachers. So teaching chanting, and of course, Suzanne's been a yoga teacher for many years, and just talking about how, why it's important to us and what that does in the body, let people experience that, and then do a concert, and people can chant along, sort of in kirtan style. That'd be really fun.
that would
So
be
I think
really
there's really fun. I would love to do that in a whole room with people chanting. Yeah, that's kind of the dream. So we're just now starting to talk about how to possibly get that put together, just because we didn't know what was going on with the virus.
hmm Well, keep us
So
posted on what happens with those
I
things.
will, I will.
I'd be interested to be there if it's close, if I can get there. So,
Sure,
uh,
sure. Well, I mean, New York's a very, logical place to do it, because all of our players are up there. So,
sure.
yeah, for sure.
All right, Lisa. Well, thank you very much for joining us here today at Inside Cool Music Magazine. We're very happy to have you. Tell the folks where we can stay in touch with you.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well, our music, Shunia, our album Shunia, is streaming on all the streaming platforms. You can buy it on Amazon, or you can download it and on Spotify. I mean, stream it on Spotify. And of course, you can always go to our website, shuniasound.com. That's SHUNIASOUND.com. And it's all there, everything you'd ever want to know.
great. Thank you so much. Thanks for being part of our inaugural issue. I'm so happy that you were here for it. And
I do. Yeah.
And I hope all you folks are having a great time watching this, and that I'm happy that you're here with us too. If you had a great time, make sure you hit that like button, call all your friends and make them hit the like button, sign up for our newsletter. We won't be obnoxious about it, sending it to you all the time. We'll just send it to you when it's cool and when something good is going on. And make sure you hit all our channels that you see here, and have a great day. Have great music. See you later. Peace.
Bye.